Hello, everyone. This is JB back at you again with another episode of reviewing The Dragon Prince, Season 2, Episode 4, entitled Voyage of the Ruthless. And before we go and talk about the episode, I just want to mention quickly that last episode I mentioned that a scene with Rayla and Caleb reminded me of a scene from Avatar with Katara and Aang, and I said that it was in the Serpent's Pass episode. I was a little bit mistaken. It wasn't quite that. I still think that moment happened, but I think it happened in a different episode. So at some point, I'm gonna sift through Avatar and find exactly what I was thinking of. But I did want to bring that up before we get started. Okay, now moving on, we're going to the discussion of this episode, episode 4, and this is spoiler warning. So if you haven't watched it, I don't know why you're here, but come back after you've watched it. Okay, so at the beginning of this episode, Caleb is trying to connect to the Arcanum. He's sitting there, kind of meditating, and Rayla's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm connecting to the Arcanum." Meanwhile, Amaya is back at the border, and she brings reinforcements this time. Trying to see what is up with the Sun Elves. Varen is with the mirror again, and it's interesting because the Star Elf looks at his staff. He looks at the staff of Viren that's sitting on the side, and then he goes away. Which I think that's an important thing that we want to keep our eye on. With Team Kalem, or the Kalem crew, I think that's what I'm going to call them for now, the Kalem crew. Kalem crew has to start walking on foot because Fifi gets tired. They notice that there's a big body of water, and then they said it'll just be fastest to go through. And so they are looking for a boat. So they go into town looking for a boat. This is where Rayla has to go into human Rayla again, and she does some great jokes. One of my favorite was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a human, and I criticize other humans for doing things, and then do exactly the same thing." And I was like, "Yep, that's that's definitely human." So, good humor there with Rayla as always. We go back to the Star Elf, and this time the Star Elf has 4 items, and he kind of shows them the 4 items, implying like, "I want you to go get these 4 items," and so he does. And then the Star Elf eventually kind of walks through this ritual, is like, kind of make this rune, put the stuff in the cup, drink the cup. It's like some type of ritual that the Star Elf is making Viren do. Meanwhile, the Calum crew is back on a boat with a blind pirate. His name is like Velis with a D in there, but I'm just gonna call him the pirate. And he is talking about sailing, and he's talking about, sort of like how, even though he's blind, but he's talking about the sailing, and how the sky and the wind plays a role in sailing, and that kind of gets a spark going. And Kayla Mine is like, "Oh well, maybe if he's connecting to the sky primal, maybe, even if it may not be magical, he's still connecting to something. Maybe I can try to figure out this connection as well." And so there's a storm that comes in, and they have to like dock, halfway through at, random dock, and kind of wait the storm out. And Kalen was like, "I want to go into the storm," because again, he wants to connect to the sky primal. And so he takes Zim with him, and he goes into the storm. Meanwhile, Amaya is at the border. They see one of their people, but he kind of looks scared, and he actually, they're like, why weren't you at your post?" And he's like, "Oh, I just forgot." But he's actually being held hostage, and he tells Amaya this through sign language, like, there's people behind me. And so then her crew and the Sunfire Elves start duking it out. Meanwhile, Calum, he tries to connect to the storm, almost electrocutes himself, uh, doesn't, but Zem does get shocked with lightning, but we learn that by the end of the episode, he's okay. They try to make it seem like, oh no, Zem died. They've done this at least 3 times. I think that's more appealing to the younger children or something, like, oh no, Zim's that we know the show is called The Dragon Prince. He's not dying, but they kind of had that gag like, oh, he died, but he didn't die. Meanwhile, Viren, he's finishing this ritual, and the last part of ritual is like giving up your blood, like cutting your hand to give up blood. And Viren is just like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna give this some thought. He goes away, realizes that the other 4 kingdoms have agreed to the meeting of the Pentarchy, and so he's just like, yeah, we're just gonna put a cap on this. We deal with this mirror thing later, and he covers it up. And then the last bit with Amaya and the Sun Elves, they're like going at it, and Amaya is facing the Sun Elf captain with the Sun Blade, I guess is what that is called. And they're going at it, and some good fight sequence there. And then it gets to a point where like Amaya thought she got the upper hand because she dislodges the sun sword from the Sun Elf. But then the Sunfire Elf started like transforming, or something started happening. Amaya was like, she was like, I am not about this. It is time for us to go. So then she goes to retreat because she is not about that. So that is the episode there. I'm just gonna give a few of my thoughts. I don't have as many as last time, but I do have some thoughts about this episode. In general, this episode, I feel like, although I don't want to use pacing, because people used to say the pacing was slow, and the pacing actually wasn't slow. And they're going back and forth between the 3 storylines: the Calum crew storyline, the Amaya storyline, and the Viren storyline. But I think it's more that just a lot didn't happen. Like, we didn't really progress. None of the characters really progressed, like, through this episode. Like, Calum crew is still kind of traveling. Calum is trying to connect to the Sky Primal, hasn't. Viren is messing with this mirror, but it's like, I don't know about that. And Maya is like, we still don't know what's going on with the Sunfire Elves. So it's like, in that sense, it seemed like the pacing was slow, but I'm okay with that. Sometimes you just gotta, in order to set things up, you gotta take some time. So it was a little bit different type of episode. Again, we had the double meaning in the title, Voyage of the Ruthless. Of course, the Calum crew was literally on a voyage on a boat named Ruthless, so there's that. There's the storyline of Amaya, dealing with the Sunfire Elves who are ruthless. And then even Viren with the Star Elf, it's like, that's a kind of ruthless idea of like, yeah, are you willing to, essentially sell your soul to the Star Elf that you have no idea what's going on there. And this leads to my next point, like the fact that Viren was like, he's kind of hesitant. I like that, because sometimes it's like, again, you look at, because you're going to compare this to Avatar or Legend of Korra all the time. So, I think of the antagonist from season 2 of Legend of Korra. I'm blanking on his name right now. Unalaq. And with Unalaq, it's like he always just did things to increase his evil agenda. And so, like, even, like, verging with Vatu, there was never, like, is this gonna have negative, effects? It's like, yeah, I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna do this thing to become evil. And I like the fact that Viren is like, I don't know about this guy. I don't even know, or this elf. Sorry, you don't know if it's a guy or a woman. Like, I don't know about this elf. I don't know if I really should be trusting this person. He's doing runes that I haven't seen before. Um, maybe I should just take a break. Take a break and come back to it. And I like that. I like the fact that he didn't just jump in and was like, oh yeah, let me be evil. Let me sell my soul to this star elf. I was like, like like a normal person would. It's like, I don't know. Like, I'm fine with the other stuff. But once you start like blood sacrifice, like, yeah, let's put a rain check on that. And I liked that did happen. And so there's that. I like that about it. I also liked the kind of the pirate being able to like connect to the sky, or connect to the wind, and like Caleb sees that as inspiration, and like even though it's not like connecting with the sky primal in terms of magic, there is still a connection, and he's like, oh, maybe I can tap into that connection as well. So that is still helping Caleb kind of reach what he think his potential is. And then my last thought is with Amaya. Again, I just think that this character is a good character, and something that I've seen with the show, and it will continue throughout the season as well, is whenever you deal with like characters that have a trait that can be seen as like being in a minority, it never gets in the way of the story. In this case, it adds to the story. And so the fact that like she's deaf, or hearing impaired, and uses sign language, like that never gets away. Like it never gets in the way of the story, and like it almost has added to the story. And in this case, especially with the one guy where he's like, oh, they're trying to get me, he could sign that to her, and like that's a useful element, and I appreciate that about this these writers. I mean, they did that with Toph. It's like her blindness never got in the way of the story, but it enhanced the story. It was a thing that moved the story forward, and we're starting to see that again with Amaya's character. And I'm just glad to see that. Like, I'm all for representation, of different types of people, but I'm only for it if it's going to be done in a way that enhances the story and doesn't get in the way. So I appreciate how they deal with that throughout the story, and specifically throughout this episode. So those are my thoughts of this episode. A little bit shorter video for me, but I think primarily because this episode is setting up for the next few episodes, kind of laying the groundwork down for the next few episodes. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. What did you think, or what do you think of the Star Elf and this ritual that he asked Viren to take part of? Do you agree with Viren of like, saying, I'll put this away? Also, what are your thoughts on Human Rayla? I love Human Rayla. She's my favorite. And lastly, what are your thoughts of Caleb and him connecting to the Sky Primal? Do you think that is possible? Do you think that he can gain that connection? Well, thank you for watching this video, and I will see you on the next video. Have a good day.